Hey, this is James taking over for this episode of the EVERBLACK Podcast. My guest on the show today is Nic Maeder, who's the lead singer for Swiss rock and roll stalwarts Gotthard. Nick and I had a chat about the new Gotthard album to be released on the 13th of March called, funnily enough, 13. We also had a chat about his roots coming from playing in bands in Australia and then landing the plum gig of vocalist for Gotthard some 10 years ago when their original singer Steve passed away. I've been aware of these guys for quite some time, having been turned on to them by a few European friends over the years. Not necessarily seen much of them. I didn't get to ever see them while I was living overseas. However, I did actually pass through the town that they were recording this album in, and they're based in Lugano in the south of Switzerland. Happens to be one of my favourite places on earth. Utterly beautiful, and I can understand why they'd want to stay there. What a great spot. These guys have sold about 3 million records in their home country and across the world, but have never really toured in Australia, which is interesting now considering that Nick spent quite a bit of time playing in the local scene with his band that included his brother called Maeder. Before we get into the episode, I'd like to have a mention of our friends at Blacklight Art and Design, who are our go-to for all our screen printing needs. They do shirts, hats, patches, you name it. If you can wear it, they can print it. They've also done all of our shirts and hats for EVERBLACK Media, so check them out at www.blacklightad.com.au. So that's BLACKLIGHTAD.com.au. The show is also brought to you by our good friends at RW Promotions, who are the best in the biz when it comes to stickers, flyers, banners, badges, and all other promo that you need for your band or your business. So go to www.rwpromotion.com.au. And don't forget to subscribe to the EVERBLACK Podcast through iTunes Podcast, Spotify, Speaker, YouTube, and Facebook. And check out all of our reviews and articles at www.everblackmedia.com, or like us on all the socials. Alrighty then, here's my chat with Nick. Horns high. Enjoy, guys. G'day, Nick. Welcome to the EVERBLACK Podcast. So Gotthard's been together now for a good 30 years. Well, it's 30 years this year, isn't it?
I think we're getting there. I think actually it could be next year. I'm not sure, but we haven't quite hit the 30 years yet. But we're pretty close.
Well, I mean, over the course of that 29, 30 years, Gotthard's pretty much done everything there is to do in the European music business. So what new challenges are you guys looking at with the release of the new album 13?
I mean, I think you never can't. I mean, I've been with the band for almost 10 years now. It's my fourth studio album with them, and I mean, it's always, you always look for as long as you're excited and you're having fun and you just want to just keep getting out there and keep playing and keep doing it. One of the big reasons I think why we did the last tour, which was an acoustic one, and the acoustic album, so we'd kind of toured that for 2 years, was to, because you always try and do something a little bit different, I guess. Mm-hmm. And so we try not to kind of repeat ourselves too often, or at least not, back to back. So it was a great, it was time to do something really different with this acoustic one, and I think even, kind of touring the album first and doing a tour first and recording the tour and then putting it out after the tour was something kind of interesting as well, and sort of taking these songs and reworking them and kind of making them work with percussionists and background singers and having even string quartets and stuff. So it was sort of really interesting to do something really kind of different, and we and after 2 years of doing that, we just sort of then you get really excited again about just doing a really good rock album,
and that's certainly what you come out with the new album. It thumps along pretty much from start to finish. You got a few little ballads in there and everything, including a fantastic cover of SOS, which was completely unexpected. So this is your fourth studio album with the band, and I think you've done a few live albums as well over the course of the last 10 or so years. So how have you found your position within the band has evolved over that time?
Well, I think, I mean, I obviously I joined the band when their singer had passed away, so that it was sort of really difficult times in the beginning, and we kind of, it was really hard work the first few years to kind of rebuild the band, we just sort of kept pushing and had an incredible support from the fans. They were just absolutely fantastic and really encouraging, things just kind of evolved, I suppose, over the last few years, I mean, I think I was extremely lucky that I was accepted by the fans, and I think the band was very lucky that we could actually still, keep going and make it work. I think things have become a little bit obviously more comfortable with every year and with every new album and every new tour it's I think it's in a really comfortable place right now, and I mean, even this new album that we made, I mean, it just kind of happened really. It wasn't very difficult, it just kind of, the ideas were there, they just came and everything got kind of put together quite fast and in an easy way, and we're sort of really happy with the result already at an early songwriting stage, So I think that just kind of, just kind of shows us that we're pretty comfortable with where we are now, I think.
Well, that sort of leads into the next question then. So Leo co-produced this album, is that correct? Have I got that? Yep. So how then does the band respond to his production style? I know that, being the founder of the band and everything like that, it's kind of his baby, but how has that worked so well to be able to bring out this really good new album?
Well, Leo is always, for a very long time now, I mean, I don't even know how many albums, but a lot of albums he's been co-producing. I mean, we do it, we do it in his studio. He has a pretty good little setup there. And so I don't know how many albums, I mean, already before me, I mean, before I was around, they were already, doing albums in that studio. So he's been doing it for quite a while, and he is the real sort of more classic rock guy. So he keeps the band kind of, he's probably the one that keeps the band sounding the way, as much as Gotthard as we could sound,
Yeah.
Because of course, I mean, there's three of us writing songs, so we all three of us have kind of different tastes, and in a lot of ways, he just kind of keeps it grounded to where it, to the style of the band.
Yeah, that's and you can tell that all the way through. I mean, every Gotthard album always sounds like a Gotthard album rather than anything else. And I mean, what you'd bring to the band as well, having, I'm not sure how long you spent here in Melbourne, but hearing your previous bands and everything, that's the very quintessential Australian rock sound that seems to have seeped into a lot of Gotthard's newer stuff.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Oh, I know. So how long were you in?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, obviously, I grew up on AC/DC and, Roast Out and the Angels, and I mean, the whole pub rock, Oz rock thing is it's kind of in my DNA, so it's I'm glad I can bring a little bit of that influence into, all the way into Switzerland.
Oh, absolutely. But what I find so interesting about it is that kind of thing these days in Australia doesn't really sell that many tickets, which is insane when we've got bands like Airborne. We've got, all of the old original pub rock bands. I've seen Rose Tattoo in front of like 10 people at the Gold Coast Beer Garden, and then seen them in front of 30,000 people at Grass Pop.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, I know we used to actually, I did a few shows with Rose Tat as well back in the day with Maeder, and Airborne are really good buddies of mine as well, and I mean, I used to do shows with Airborne with Maeder. We used to do like 50 people at the Green Room in Melbourne, stuff like that. So. And
chances are I was probably there at the time as well. But
probably. Yeah. I mean, I got great memories from all those days, you know, and yeah, it's yeah, I don't know, maybe it's definitely works well in Europe, you know. I mean, those guys are doing great in Europe, you know, and it's a shame, maybe, I don't know why it's Oz rock is not kicking in Australia as much as it should. Maybe I don't know. From what I hear, from what I hear people telling me, yeah.
Yeah. So, do you get back here very often? And are you planning on bringing Gotthard back?
I've in the last sort of 10 years, I've just been back a couple of times. Unfortunately, I just never get enough time to. I mean, it's really hard to, as you know, I mean, so far away. So you can't just sort of go for 2 weeks. You know, you by the time you count the travel and the jet lag and all that stuff, you kind of you need to at least have 3 or 4 weeks time to do it properly. You know, and I just rarely get that amount of time in a row. You know, I mean, I get days off here and there, but never in a row. It's very difficult. Yeah. So I've only been able to be back a couple of times. Yeah. You know.
Well, when you're based out of such a beautiful place as Lugano, it'd be kind of hard to get away.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, it's funny because, you know, a lot of all my friends in Switzerland, they kind of, you know, they dream about going to Australia, and a lot of my friends in Australia dream about coming over to Europe. So it's just, I know, right? It's beautiful as, you know, the world's a beautiful place, you know, wherever you are, I think. And yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about coming to Australia as well, you know. So I'm hoping it'll happen one of these days. And you know, we get out as far as kind of Japan, and that's not that far, you know. So
sure, Rob.
Yeah, so I'd love to. I'm you know, keep fingers crossed. I hope we get down under one of these days.
That'd be fantastic to have you back here. But so, you know, recording at the Yellow House in Lugano, what effect? I mean, you've said that you guys have recorded there quite a bit. But because it's Leo's own studio, does that sort of take a lot of the pressure off that would otherwise make for more stressful music, I suppose?
I think it's definitely comfortable. I mean, it's a luxury, you know, to have that. You know, we've got a nice studio with an SSL desk and everything there, so it's kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a luxury, you know, and we can come and go as we please, obviously, and, you know, whoever needs to do their task can just come in and do it. And so, and even when we're kind of doing this, you know, the songwriting part, where we're just kind of doing demos of the songs, and I mean, we've got a full studio to do that in, you know, so it's definitely a luxury that a lot of bands don't have. But yeah, I mean, I often wondered that as well, because sometimes it's good to kind of get out to an unknown place and you know, get different inspiration and things. But yeah, it seems to the guys are really happy to do it that way, and have been doing it that way for a long time, and it just seems to work quite well, you know.
Would it also mean that it give you more time to actually do what you need to do? Whereas with things the way they are in the music industry at the moment, it'd be kind of hard to be able to justify a huge budget on a huge studio.
Yeah, I mean, there's that as well. But I mean, believe me though, we still run out of time. we're still rushing, and we're still trying to meet deadlines. And I mean, we barely made this deadline, you know.
Yeah.
you're still kind of, you know, you're still rushing and everything. Particularly when you got to, you know, when it's the creative side, you know, when you're writing, and I mean, of course we wrote the songs and then put some demos together. But then, you know, once the producer comes in, then we kind of still rip the song apart again and almost start from scratch, you know, again. Yeah. So you kind of do the process twice. And then that's when you start to run out of time, because it's the creative process, until you get it right, you know, you need to get that right. So we did spend quite a bit of time doing that. You know, the actual recording part is not so time consuming. It's more all the other stuff, you know. Well,
so new album actually seems to be even hungrier and much leaner beast than the last few studio Gotthard albums. As you said, it was a bit more of a conscious decision on your part, seeing that the last live album was an acoustic album and the last tour was an acoustic tour. So what was the sort of thinking behind it? Did you want to make it a lot leaner, or is it just how it came out after all that nice frilly music?
No, it's kind of what we wanted. I mean, that's one of the big reasons why we got Paul Laddie back in as well. I mean, the first album with me, the Firebirth album, he co-produced that one, and we, back then already we wanted a really raw sound. We wanted to go back to just kind of, not too much kind of fairy dust over everything. We wanted it quite raw, and so it was a conscious decision we really wanted him back in for those reasons, and he's quite good also at coming up with ideas for songs in terms of flipping things around a bit and making them a bit less predictable, let's say. So he's and so I was really happy to have him back in as well to just kind of play with the songs a little bit as well, in producing. So, but no, I was very conscious thing to have it a lot more raw. And I mean, at one point we even talked about not having any keyboards at all, So
they're quite sparing in there as well. It seems to have been, very much either pushed to the back of the mix or completely out.
It's more, we've got the Hammond more as a kind of colour. It's not so much as of a feature. It's really more of a colour there, and it kind of fattens up the sound a bit, So yeah, but I mean, there really was even discussions of not having any at all, But so definitely we were aiming for a rougher sound here,
and certainly achieved that, because it definitely has that really good garage feel. It doesn't feel like I've noticed that there's a lot of modern rock albums that are just so polished that it could be a pop album.
Yeah, that's definitely not what we did. Definitely didn't want that. Yeah.
Now, with the music industry being as unstable as it is, and then so many of the bigger bands, well, not getting any younger or anything like that, how are Gotthard faring in being able to sustain your career with all the changes that are gone on? I
mean, we're actually doing quite well, but I mean, of course, everything is based on live now. I mean, no one's really making money from any other source. It's all about. It's really all about playing now. And really, that's our business is just getting people to shows, and so you've just got to keep it interesting and keep people coming, we've been really lucky so far that things are still going really well in that department, and of course the band has almost 30 years of people following the band, so there's quite a large following. And all different ages as well. I mean, we really have 3 generations in our shows now, and I think the fact that the band has had so many years to build up that following is really helping us now,
Excellent. Well, I think I've pretty much run out of time.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for joining us on the EVERBLACK podcast.
My pleasure.
And I'm really looking forward to possibly having you guys out here at some stage.